In the midst of intense battle, Han Li, though apologetic, stood before a weakened, dark-skinned elder, his power visibly drained by an unseen restriction. The elder, immobilized and burning with resentment, glared at Han Li and Shi Chuangkong as Han Li's essence fire raven dissolved back into his body. Shi Chuangkong, however, remained unfazed, his thoughts distant as he studied the yellow-robed figure that stood before them. The yellow-robed man, Hua Jing, revealed his true form, a young, androgynous figure with a strange mask covering half his face. Exuding an unsettling aura, a sudden tremor racked his body, his pain palpable as his spiritual energy fluctuated wildly. Han Li, ever vigilant, rushed to aid Shi Chuangkong, releasing a surge of azure light that helped calm his distressed companion. Through silent transmission, Han Li urged Shi Chuangkong to focus, for the masked man was no mere foe. Hua Jing, a high-ranking servant of Shi Chuangkong's sister, Shi Jingyan, possessed the dangerous ability to manipulate the senses, having likely ensnared their allies in his illusions. His twisted purpose became clear as he mocked Shi Chuangkong's situation, offering a vile deal, his life spared in exchange for the Verada loot. But Shi Chuangkong, driven by wrath, rejected the offer and struck first. The Verada lute sang its deadly melody, sending silver blades of wind hurtling toward Hua Jing. Yet the man evaded with ease, summoning golden swords to block the path. As his yellow bell shielded him from the assault, Shi Chuangkong's blades of wind coiled like a deadly storm, forming two giant crescent moons that swept toward the bell. Hua Jing, sensing danger, thickened his bell's defense, but the crescents bypassed it, tearing through his shield with ease. In a flash, Han Li appeared behind Hua Jing, delivering a forceful blow that halted the bell's defense, allowing the crescent moons to strike with brutal precision. Hua Jing's body was torn asunder, but Shi Chuangkong's moment of vengeance was short-lived. Han Li's senses screamed of deception, and the illusion dissipated, revealing Hua Jing's mocking smile from afar. The yellow copper mirror above Hua Jing's head gleamed with an eerie light, its central red flower turning toward Han Li. Launching a mental assault on his soul, Han Li, with his spiritual sense honed sharp, eradicated the invading projections before they could take root, a faint sigh of relief escaping his lips. Hua Jing, impressed by Han Li's resistance, taunted him before swiftly evading two white shadows that sought his life. He reappeared far from harm, but Shi Chuangkong, now consumed by rage, surged toward Han Li, unleashing the Verada lute in another violent flurry. Two Jade Rulers, powered by blood essence, joined the assault, threatening to overwhelm Han Li with their devastating force. Han Li, his brow furrowed in concern, teleported behind Shi Chuangkong in a flash of golden lightning, using his lion's roar technique to break the illusions. Yet, Shi Chuangkong, gripped by a dark fury, swung around, sending out 5 violet claws of devilish chi straight at Han Li, the battle far from over. Han Li formed a hand seal, and several arcs of golden lightning erupted from his flying swords, striking Shi Chuangkong's vital points, his glabella and dantian. The man shuddered violently, his body blackened by the bolts, yet he pressed forward without seeming to feel pain. In that moment, black lightning descended from the sky, aiming at Han Li, while a sweet fragrance filled the air, heralding the appearance of a pink mist dragon charging toward him. Han Li's face darkened as he retreated, golden lightning crackling around him, narrowly avoiding the simultaneous attacks from the black lightning and the mist dragon. Just as the dark-skinned elderly man and the woman in the red dress stepped forward, both injured yet relentless in their assault, Hua Jing's laughter echoed as he revealed his flower mirror ability, which compelled those trapped by it to continue fighting regardless of their wounds unless released. Han Li's expression hardened, and with a wave of his hand, 18 azure bamboo cloud swarm swords surged forth, releasing a massive wave of golden lightning that stretched for nearly 10 kilometers. As the swords collided with Shi Chuangkong's trio, silver crescent moons and radiant white suns formed in the air, creating a dazzling array of attacks. At the same time, the elderly man summoned a swirling black inkstone, enveloping the area in a vast cloud of glacial chi that solidified into black ice, while the woman conjured 8 crystalline white dragons with a burst of pink light. The forces collided with thunderous booms, golden, silver, black, and pink lights interweaving in a fierce clash. Despite the power of the golden lightning, Han Li held back, unwilling to harm the already wounded trio. Hua Jing, savoring the chaos, relished the torment of turning once close allies against one another. Han Li responded with cold resolve, his fingers flashing through hand seals as the swords tore through the enemy's defenses, sending them crashing to the ground, blood spilling from their mouths. With the trio temporarily incapacitated, Han Li's pale face betrayed the effort it took to seal their souls, the golden swords returning to him, as Hua Jing demanded to know how the feat had been accomplished. Han Li, cold and dismissive, refused to answer, and Hua Jing's anger flared. He boasted of his strength, claiming Han Li was nearing exhaustion. But Han Li, unfazed, retorted, challenging Hua Jing's confidence in his own powers. The wicked cultivator's face darkened, and with a roar, he unleashed a terrifying beastly head of yellow light, half dragon and half tiger, charging toward Han Li. In response, Han Li summoned another thick lightning barrier, yet the yellow light pierced it with ease, striking Han Li's chest, only to reveal his afterimage. A flurry of yellow shadows emerged from Hua Jing, scattering in all directions, but they were caught by Han Li's sword chi barrage. Hua Jing's anguished roar filled the air as he retreated, his tattered form revealing a black inner armor beneath his robes. His mask was torn away, revealing his wizened, bark-like face. Furiously, Hua Jing summoned multiple yellow beastly heads, their mouths opening to unleash streams of destructive yellow light, aimed at Han Li's golden sword chi in a battle for dominance. The air trembled as Han Li surged from the crumbling vortex of golden sword chi, his form bathed in a burst of radiant golden light. A vast spirit domain materialized around him, stretching out for dozens of kilometers. From within his being, 18 azure bamboo cloud-swarm swords shot forth, vanishing like phantoms into the ether. Hua Jing's senses dulled as time itself seemed to slow around him, prompting him to unleash his own spirit domain, a swirling cascade of vibrant lights and dancing petals, a mesmerizing sight. He hastily formed a hand seal, summoning a pillar of yellow light from the copper mirror above him, enshrouding his form. Simultaneously, a massive yellow bell, towering over 100 feet, surrounded him. The moment it manifested, the 18 flying swords struck with precision, slamming into the bell. The giant bell trembled, its radiance flickering momentarily before stabilizing. Hua Jing, startled, had expected more from the assault, as he believed the swords should have shattered his defenses. Before he could reassess, a massive fist, shrouded in purplish golden scales, materialized in the air, striking the bell with devastating force. The strange power of Han Li's spirit domain assaulted Hua Jing's mind, disrupting his senses, but his immense spiritual awareness held steady. At the same time, 5 more fists surged from the domain, striking the yellow pillar of light with earth-shattering force. The yellow beastly heads around Hua Jing exploded in a blinding flash, and the pillar of light shattered in a cacophony of sound. The shockwaves sent Hua Jing careening through the air, blood spewing from his mouth as he fled, desperate to escape. However, Han Li's time domain slowed him to a crawl, his efforts futile as they were easily countered. In a final effort, Hua Jing summoned a surge of blood essence, channeling it into the mirror. A crimson light enveloped him, his body swelling, veins bulging as he doubled his speed. Dozens of yellow streaks of light sprang into being around him, scattering in all directions to confuse his opponent. Han Li's eyes narrowed, and with a cold snort, his mantra-treasured axis materialized behind him, releasing golden ripples that enveloped the streaks, freezing them in place. However, one of the yellow lights ahead erupted with an aura far beyond Hua Jing's, nearing the great encompassment stage and continuing to grow. The golden ripples trembled violently, on the verge of collapsing. With a swift hand seal, Han Li sent the 18 azure bamboo cloud-swarm swords shooting toward that streak. In an instant, Hua Jing's form was obliterated, his overwhelming aura vanishing as the golden ripples returned to normal. Han Li let out a quiet sigh of relief, reverting to his human form and swallowing a few pills to restore his strength. He swept his sleeve, azure light flaring to collect Hua Jing's remains, and the now dimmed mirror, which had once exuded crimson light. As he inspected the mirror, he deduced it was Hua Jing's bonded treasure, a tool used for hypnosis. The ability to hypnotize others, and even himself, had granted Hua Jing extraordinary power. But Han Li's progress in the spirit refinement technique had kept him resistant to its effects. With a flick of his wrist, the mirror was stored away in the profound heavenly gourd, and a streak of azure light was sent to search through Hua Jing's remains. It returned with a nascent soul, which Han Li grasped with intent to destroy. Yet, a glance at Shi Chuankong made him hesitate. Instead, he released a burst of silver flames that encircled the nascent soul, imbuing it with fiery silver runes. Han Li turned his attention back to the remains, incinerating them to ashes with another flash of flames. Among the remains, only a black inner armor, a yellow bracelet, and a carving of a yellow beastly head remained. The carving caught his interest. It seemed to hold immense power, and he stowed it away for further study. Returning to the nascent soul, Han Li warned it with a cold voice, "Try any more tricks, and I'll destroy you." The nascent soul, trembling, immediately froze, and Han Li's silver flames began to scorch its form. With a panicked cry, it complied, undoing its hypnotic influence on Shi Chuankong and the others. Han Li gave a satisfied nod, and the silver flame restriction was lifted. The trio slowly regained consciousness, their confusion palpable. Shi Chuankong, still disoriented, asked, "What happened? Did Hua Jing escape?" The nascent soul of Hua Jing was cast toward Shi Chuankong by Han Li, who spoke coldly, "He's here. I thought you might have questions for him, so I spared his soul." Shi Chuankong hesitated, his fury rising as he grasped the nascent soul, eyes burning with hatred. Hua Jing's soul trembled, bowing fervently. "Please, Your Highness, forgive me. I only followed orders. If you spare me, I'll join your side. I also know a great secret about you," he pleaded desperately. But Shi Chuankong, his expression hardening, unleashed a surge of silver light from his hand. Hua Jing's nascent soul shrieked in terror. "You can't kill me. My master is Taoist Master Bone Shine. He'll avenge me." Yet without a second thought, Shi Chuankong clenched his fist, and the nascent soul was torn apart, its despairing wail lost to the wind. Han Li watched quietly, his brow furrowing but remaining silent. The tragedy of Elder Chi's death seemed to fuel Shi Chuankong's fury. After a brief moment of composure, Shi Chuankong bowed deeply to Han Li. "I must thank you again for your aid, fellow Taoist Li," he said. "It was nothing, fellow Taoist Shi," Han Li replied. But Hua Jing mentioned a crucial point. "This Taoist master Bone Shine, he must be a great encompassment cultivator, correct?" Shi Chuankong nodded gravely. "Indeed, the situation is far worse than I anticipated. Grain Mountain City is no longer safe. We must leave immediately." He quickly consumed several pills to regain his strength, while Han Li surveyed the two unconscious figures nearby, the dark-skinned elder and the woman in red. Both were gravely injured, their cultivation crippled. They might never recover. "We'll leave them here," Shi Chuankong declared. "Without me, Grain Mountain City should be safe, and they can recover." With a sweeping motion of his sleeve, he collected the injured figures, along with the bodies of Elder Chi and his allies, and disappeared into the distance. Han Li, seated in quiet meditation, allowed his body to heal before rising to join Shi Chuankong. The two boarded Shi Chuankong's flying carriage, leaving the city behind. However, as they ascended into the skies, a crimson streak of light approached them swiftly. "Another one already?" Han Li muttered, his voice grim. Shi Chuankong scowled and halted the carriage. The red streak resolved into a crimson flying carriage, upon which stood a man in red robes. The man's voice rang clear. "Your Highness, I was sent by the third prince to escort you." Shi Chuankong, wary, asked, "Do you have proof?" The man flicked his sleeve, sending a streak of red light towards Shi Chuankong. Cautiously, he caught it, revealing a small, crescent-shaped jade pendant, unadorned yet worn with time. Shi Chuankong took out another identical pendant from his robes, and when the two were brought together, they emitted a soft glow. The light coalesced into a portrait of a woman with pointed ears, her expression serene and gentle. A flicker of nostalgia passed over Shi Chuankong's face. "It seems he speaks the truth," Shi Chuankong affirmed. The man, who introduced himself as Cheng Shui, the blood drop Marquis, was young, with a soft expression except for his piercing eyes. He explained that he had been sent by the third prince to escort Shi Chuankong. After a brief exchange, Shi Chuankong turned to Han Li and introduced him. "This is fellow Taoist Li Han, my companion, who has saved my life many times." Cheng Shui nodded in greeting, his curiosity piqued by Han Li's presence. What are your plans now, Your Highness? Changshe inquired. Shi Chuangkong explained their original plan to travel to Chuyu City, but noted the disruption caused by the destruction of the teleportation array. We need another route, he concluded. Changshe hesitated before mentioning the difficulty of accessing the teleportation array in Chuyu City. Shi Chuangkong assured him that his status in the vast Origin House would be enough to gain access. As the conversation continued, Shui Cheng revealed the challenges ahead. The nearest city to Grain Mountain is 10 years away, he noted. Han Li's brow furrowed. That's too long, he said. Shi Chuangkong shared that an enemy, Hua Jing, had attacked earlier in the city, and now they feared retaliation from Taoist Master Boneshine, Hua Jing's master, a powerful great encompassment cultivator. Shui Cheng grimaced. Taoist Master Boneshine is notorious for avenging his disciples. If he comes after us, even my life may not be enough to protect you, he warned. That's why 10 years is too long, Shi Chuangkong sighed. After a long pause, Shui Cheng's eyes brightened. I may have a solution, Your Highness, but it will require your consent to try. He offered. Shui Cheng began to transmit his plan to Han Li and Shi Chuangkong through their spiritual senses. As the details unfolded, their faces clouded with hesitation. After a moment of silent contemplation, Shi Chuangkong remained deep in thought. Han Li broke the silence, his voice calm but firm, suggesting adjustments to the finer aspects of the plan. Shi Chuangkong, after considering the changes, nodded grimly. It seems our only option, he agreed, and soon the three of them ascended onto Shui Cheng's flying carriage, setting off without delay. 2 years passed swiftly, like the turning of seasons. A crimson streak sliced through the skies above a forest in the Devil Realm, the flying carriage within carried by powerful winds. Han Li, Shi Chuangkong, and Shui Cheng stood upon the carriage, Shui Cheng pressing a hand to an array plate, infusing his blood essence into the formation. We shall reach Sulphur Forest City in 2 months, ahead of schedule, nearly a year before expected, Shui Cheng said. Your efforts are appreciated, fellow Taoist Shui, Shi Chuangkong replied. Without your sacrifice, we would not have made such haste. Shui Cheng's expression darkened. Save your thanks for Chuyu City, he said grimly. Suddenly, a thunderous roar shook the air, followed by the appearance of an immense barrier. Transparent, shimmering with ripples. At its center stood an elderly figure. It is Taoist Master Boneshine, Shui Cheng declared, his voice tight with tension. Even with all our precautions, Shi Chuangkong murmured in exasperation. Han Li's calm demeanor belied his inner alarm. He had fought great encompassment cultivators before and knew that as long as the enemy did not wield one of the 3 paramount laws, escape was possible, though he would have to leave Shi Chuangkong behind. But they had prepared for this scenario. Shi Chuangkong was not without his own means. Taoist Master Boneshine, an old man with an unnerving appearance, his forehead stripped of flesh to reveal bone beneath, his dark green robe tattered, was enraged. You think you can escape after killing my disciple? He thundered. Shui Cheng, in a tone full of urgency, spoke out. Senior Boneshine, it was your disciple who struck first, and he was slain in self-defense. I care not for excuses. The murderer must pay with blood. Taoist Master Boneshine roared, his body surging with spatial power. Scatter! Shui Cheng bellowed, and in an instant, Han Li and Shi Kuang darted in separate directions. Shui Cheng himself hurled himself toward Boneshine, crimson runes flashing across his skin. From his back erupted a massive devilish projection, fists raised in fury as he attacked. Taoist Master Boneshine sneered, raising his own fist, revealing bones beneath his skin, etched with golden patterns. Their fists collided with a thunderous roar, sending shockwaves through the sky. The ground cracked, mountains crumbled, and space itself seemed to shudder. Shui Cheng's devilish projection shattered first, followed by the breaking of his arm under the force of the impact. Blood spilled as he was hurled through the air. Taoist Master Boneshine pressed the attack, his hand ripping through Shui Cheng's chest, his fingers extending out of Shui Cheng's back. But Shui Cheng's body did not bleed. Instead, his flesh writhed as if alive, trying to consume Boneshine's arm. Boneshine, unperturbed, allowed bone spikes to erupt from his arm, shredding Shui Cheng's chest and scattering his body to pieces. His remains were reduced to globules of blood, only to reform and retreat. Boneshine's gaze shifted, seeing Han Li and Shi Chuangkong had already distanced themselves. His face darkened, and he raised a hand, unleashing a massive spirit domain. White mist enveloped the area, within which appeared towering bone pagodas, each topped with eerie green flames. Shui Cheng's expression hardened. In the spirit domain, his bones trembled violently as if seeking to break free and become part of the bone structures. He summoned a dark red spirit domain to shield himself. But before he could act, the bone pagodas began to converge, their flames intensifying, their power pressing upon him like a vice. His skin stretched, and his body began to deform as bone fragments pushed outward. Shui Cheng's spirit domain flared, swirling crimson chi that healed his wounds and stabilized his body. But Boneshine was undeterred. The old man casually drew 2 of his ribs from his body and tossed them into the air. The ribs sped through the sky, reaching Han Li and Shi Chuankong in the blink of an eye. One rib transformed into an avatar of Boneshine, roaring as it chased after Han Li. Despite Han Li's desperate attempt to accelerate, he found his speed suddenly faltering, as if some invisible force held him back. The avatar's hand reached out, spatial ripples appearing to trap Han Li in its grasp.